Okay, we're going to make a little detour because this actually explains some of the underpinnings of the electric universe, which see the pattern pushes. There's no real evidence of electric currents in space. Well, scientists can only use what they can see, but they can see the effects of gravity and mass. So that's so they can see particles being accelerated towards a larger mass. And we also know that mass attracts mass no matter what. With electrical forces, if you have two negatives, they'll repel each other. With two positives, they repel each other. And if you have a plus and a negative, they'll attract. But we have no. Well, like with the sun, we do have probe. We have the Parker Solar Probe, we have the Solar Dynamics Observatory, we have SOHO and several other observatories measuring the sun, and we know what's going on. And there's no purge detected. There's a solar wind, which is a flow of ionized gas, and has like would have a hydrogen atom and an electron fairly close to each other, but not orbiting. And the electron would be orbiting the proton, or there's helium, or there's with electrons, or there's other ions. It's very low density, and it flows in all directions, all 360 degrees and then on the other axis another 360 degrees. So it's constant flow pretty much. So that's the chief issue with the electric universe. Is there's no way of there's no current in space, but they think there is a current in space. So we'll start listening to what Gareth has to say.
I've often wondered what drives the huge electrical currents that we see flowing across the universe. The Thunderbolts project often referred to Alvin's galactic circuit. So let's explore what this is and how he came up with the idea. This story starts with the discovery of a strange double radio source. These were one of the most puzzling problems in astrophysics at the time, and we're talking the 1970s. These sources were emitting huge amounts of energy and often had a galaxy situated right between the two sources. At the time, there were two explanations for these. One line suggested that there are stellar objects at the center of each of the radio sources which were emitting radio, essentially like radio stars. None, however, have ever been found. The other theory suggests that the galaxy at the center has emitted two jets in opposite directions, which in some way have been kept together during their long travels. None of these models could explain where the energy to power this double source actually came from. Modern theory still suggests that these are caused by active galactic nuclei producing two persistent, oppositely directed plasma outflows that contain cosmic ray electrons and magnetic fields. It is believed that these plasma jets are formed by the accretion disk that form around a massive black hole like the one at M87. Here the jets are powered by the accretion disk, and we're not going to discuss the problems with this model in this video. Alvin,
what causes these flows is you got a large mass rotating around the axis of the black hole. The black hole is sometimes millions or billions times the mass of the sun, and And as this stuff rotates, as it falls in, it'll start to follow a circular path. And the thing is a lot of this stuff ends up colliding with each other and heating up and ionizing, which means the electrons and the protons disassembling from each other. So it leads to a slightly charged situation, and when you have a charged flow like this, you create a magnetic field at a 90-degree angle. Plus, also you have the giant mass, and in relativity you have a big depression in space-time. But that causes the stuff to come in anyway. So you get this big magnetic field, and you have charged particles, and the particles go in either direction at a very high speed. These objects are called quasars or active galactic nuclei, and sometimes it just depends on how it's oriented to you. What the quasar starts to make a quasi-stellar object because it was emitting a lot of radio waves. But that's the present understanding of what a lot of these are. It's just they're very early galaxies. There's mostly gas and a very early stage of evolution, and they're old galaxies. I probably won't be able to get to the entire video of his tonight, but we'll go through the rest of the video later. But as he starts bringing up about measuring older galaxies.
Goes on to discuss the main problems he faced at the time regarding the approach to plasma physics. Current plasma physics has moved on significantly and adopted many of Alvin's ideas, but let's briefly cover his main gripes. He points out that many plasma phenomena are ignored by cosmologists, listing them as follows: electrostatic double layers, current sheath, pinch effect, and critical velocity. He points out that plasma cannot simply be studied by calculations, as the behavior can often be very complicated and require in situ measurements, and it is important that a new approach is needed and should be based on the recognition of the fact that the plasma has general patterns of behavior which, in important respects, are the same in the laboratory and in the ionosphere, the magnetosphere, and the heliosphere, and these results can possibly be used to extrapolate further out. In this paper, he intends to demonstrate that certain observed processes in the laboratory may be used to explain these double radio sources. When an electric current is passed in a discharge tube, it often produces electrostatic double layers. This is nothing new and has been known for about 100 years. These double layers will form even if there is no magnetic field present, and this will cause an acceleration to the charged particles and no appreciable electric field. Double layers are often produced at the point where the diameter of the discharge tube changes. The energy released in the double layer can be so large that it can cause the glass tube to glow or even implode. These double layers often oscillate and emit noise with a broadband frequency spectrum. In this setup, the power is supplied by a voltage source in the circuit, which could be located at any distance from the setup. The energy is transferred to the double layer through the electrical circuit, and the behavior of the double layer depends not only on the plasma parameters near it, but also on the resistance and the inductance in the whole circuit. Larger inductance would cause the double layer to explode, and as the circuit is broken, the magnetic energy is released very rapidly. This means that the plasma column can be likened to a metal wire surrounded by an insulator.
But where does the power source come from? This is one of the underlying issues with the electric universe. There's no real good explanation of where this power source comes from. Double layers is you have a sphere of like a positive charge on it, and further out you'll have another sphere with a maybe a negative charge, but then you have these two layers, and somehow these magically form stars. Z pinches are when you have current and they kind of collapse into a point, and this is where the electric universe thinks stars are formed, but there's no really evidence of it. What's the other one? It's another. But the thing is, there's no real source of the power. There's no real proof that these things exist. A lot of this comes from they don't like relativity or quantum mechanics or one or the other, so they have to invent different schemes to power the stars. But okay, I think that will be it for right now. But those are a couple of the big ones. But yeah, I think I'll end it here today because it's coming up about 11 minutes. So have a good day, and I hope at least one person enjoyed this. Goodbye. I found it important. Well, goodbye. And like and subscribe.